各位，在一次关于印度对华战略的公开讨论中，印度国会议员、长期研究国际政治的学者沙希塔鲁尔提出一个直截了当却极其不舒适的问题：当一个国家在经济上高度依赖另外一个国家，而安全的风险却持续的累积，这种关系究竟还能被称为稳定吗？在过去的5到6年，中印的关系经历了一段明显的下行周期，双方都在努力地避免意外的升级，希望持续一种可控的状态。但稳定不等于安全，更不意味着对方不会使用已有的影响力。现实已经多次证明，这一种影响力是真实存在的。印度的经济在多个关键环节对中国产生依赖，从出口竞争力所需的中间品，到高端制造设备，甚至基础设施建设所需要的核心机械，许多的供应链节点并不掌握在自己手中。当中国突然停止向印度出售隧道掘进机的时候，问题才被直观地暴露出来。这一些设备原本是德国的技术，却由是在中国的工厂生产。一道行政决定就足以让印度的高速公路和隧道工程陷入停滞。而类似的冲击并不只是发生在重工业领域。富士康项目落地印度后，大量关键工程师和技术管理人员都是中国的公民。在签证政策本已收紧的背景下，中国的单方面停止其出境的资格，迫使他们集体撤离，直接留下了几百个无法立即替代的岗位缺口。影响并非是抽象的风险评估，而是立即发生的生产中断。而正因为如此，印度国内出现了明显的分歧。商业界的一部分声音主张进一步开放，认为中国廉价高效、配套完整，即使地理上无法回避，不如全面接纳。但是战略界的担忧恰恰相反，当一个已经多次展示工具化依赖的国家掌握更多的经济入口，脆弱性只会被放大，而不会被稀释。这一切还在叠加一个长期而未决的背景下。加尔万冲突之后，中印的边境问题并未真正的降温。中国倾向于将争议留给下一代，但力量对比持续拉大的前提下，把问题推迟本身就有可能意味着未来的谈判空间的收缩。而更复杂的是地理结构的变化。中巴经济走廊已经成为中国“一带一路”中最关键的单一项目，它大幅地压缩了中国通往西部的物流时间和成本。这不再只是一个传统的地缘博弈，而是直接关联到中国的核心经济动脉。在这一种背景下，印度很难将中巴关系视为自身无关的外围变化。因此问题不再只是能否稳定关系，而是必须先要回答一个更根本的问题：在核心国家利益层面，双方是否存在结构性的冲突？如果答案是肯定的，那么任何合作都必须要建立在清晰的红线和自我能力建设之上，而不是对善意的假设。而真正成熟的对外关系，从来不是依赖对方的克制，而是源自自身的不可替代性。当一个国家清晰知道自己的优势所在，即便他人有意施压，能够造成的伤害也终究有限。让我们看一下视频。
My one final question would be regarding China. We've had an adversarial relationship. We've gone through a difficult time in the relationship over the last 5 to 6 years. We've been trying to stabilize so that there are no more surprises in the relationship. But how do we leverage a relationship with China? Can we leverage it at all for our advantage? Because we are dependent on Chinese imports. We need them for our export competitiveness, for our national security, our economic security. How do we somehow negotiate or work with China so that our growth also continues, yet the relationship is fairly stable?
The relationship can be stable. The difficulty is what is the presumption behind it? I mean, there are segments of the business community. I've had a number of conversations with fairly influential business voices who are strongly advocating a surrender to China, as it were. Let them come in, let them invest, remove the restrictions on their coming into certain sectors of our economy. How does it matter? They're next door. We have to work with them. Plus, they're so much cheaper, so much better. They can give us everything we need. Even the machines we need to manufacture stuff we export, we get from China more than anywhere else, etc., etc. On the other side, the argument is more from the strategic community, which is deeply worried about the vulnerabilities that our business community seems to be keen on pushing us into. For example, I mean, you talk about China leveraging rare earths with the Americans, they leverage them with us.
They've not released anything.
They took away rare earths from us in ways that genuinely hurt us. But even simple things like the tunnel boring machines we've been using for our highway development and tunnel construction. The technology is originally German, but it's a German company in China that makes these tunnel boring machines. The Chinese have just stopped selling them to us. And suddenly we find ourselves in a position where we literally have a colossal shortage of these machines when we need them for our own infrastructure development. Now, I'm hearing fairly well-placed, reliable sources indicating that we may have persuaded the German company concerned to put up a factory in India, not just in China. But that'll take time to come on stream, and so in the meantime, we are suffering. Another startling example many people weren't aware of for some time is that the Chinese, even at a time when we were giving tough on visas for China, when the Foxconn project came in that was making all the Apple 17s and all of that, 300 of their engineers and technicians, including supervisory ones, were Chinese citizens. And China just unilaterally snapped their fingers and said, leave India. And suddenly we had a massive hole when it comes to 300 jobs that were indispensable. Now, I mention all of this to show that China has not only exercised leverage over us already and has reminded us that they have that leverage, but they've done so in a fairly unfriendly manner. And many people say, why would you want to enhance your vulnerability to a country that has already behaved in a manner that is like this? On top of that, we've had Galwan and the border issue, which is still unsettled. It's the world's longest unresolved frontier dispute. The Chinese are clearly not making any effort to resolve it. I know that Mr. Doval, as the special representative of India, has been meeting his Chinese counterpart twice already in the last 3 months, and hopefully there might be some further progress. I'm told that one more meeting is coming up in the intermediate future. If anything, positive results out of that, I think we'll all be happy. But the Chinese have broadly taken the line that we should leave the border to future generations to settle. The problem is, since they said it, their economy has become 4 times the size of ours. Their military is twice the size and capacity of ours. And by the time you leave it for a future generation, China might even be planning to be in a position to just dictate terms of a settlement. So that's not good enough for us. We really want this monkey off our back by settling in one way or the other an agreement that at least removes a cause or an opportunity for China to constantly throw us off balance. And this is something worth thinking about, and I think we do need to do that. The relationship stability is not so much in question that I don't think China at the moment would want to rock the relationship through anything more than it's already doing. It is probing into the existing lines on the border. It is parking durable facilities in areas where both countries used to patrol. It is doing things like refusing visas to Indians born in Arunachal or Kashmir and instead giving them staple visas and separate pieces of paper. There have been a number of irritants coming out of China, but within an overall context of nothing more fundamentally destabilizing. Now, so when you ask stable relationship, yes, it can be a stable relationship. But I ask you in turn, what is your orientation? Do you see China as as a country that is fundamentally hostile to your basic core national interests? In which case you have to make your economic and other choices guided by that perception. Or have you decided that no, a policy of capitulation is better for us because we'll prosper from it? I am not inclined in the latter direction. My views are fairly well known. But there are enough voices in India to advocate that point of view. I might add one more detail, which I think all of you are very conscious of, which is that now Pakistan has also become a very significant consideration in China's attitude to India, much more so than before. It's not just that China has become an ally and a friend for the last half a century. That's always true. But what has been significant is that the single largest project under the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative is the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And don't forget that till 10 years ago, Chinese goods going to Western China had to come from the Straits of Hormuz or the Suez Canal all the way around India, through the Straits of Malacca, into the South China Sea, and they'd unload in Guangzhou or Shenzhen, be loaded on trucks, and then taken on highways all the way across mainland China before goods could reach Western China. Today, they're saving 95% of the time and 90% of the cost by just going down to Gwadar, unloading and going up the highway. This is now a fundamental Chinese national interest. It's no longer about using Pakistan to needle India or a strategic calculus in the old Sino-Soviet clash or anything else. It is now directly about Pakistan is good for us if we are Chinese, and Pakistan being bad for India is an incidental thing. But we've all heard the stories about Sindoor, and I'm not revealing anything confidential because I don't know. But I've read the same newspaper reports, and many of you have access to if you go and search for them, that Chinese satellites hovering above India were giving real-time intelligence to the Pakistanis during the war. And there are even stories, unverified undoubtedly, of Chinese officers in some of the Pakistani command and control centers giving some of those, feeding some of that satellite data into the trigger mechanisms that sent various kinds of missiles our way. Now, as I say, I have no authority to confirm any of this, but even if it's true, or even if it's only partially true, that's already a pretty worrying indication of where the fundamental interests of the two countries diverge.
Right.
So you can talk about a stable relationship, but a stable relationship in the context of understanding what your fundamental national interests are and how they are seen by the other side is something you always bear in mind in any mature relationship.
You know, I think I would really sum up what you've said, sir, with the fact that we have to be nimble-footed, agile in our responses, look out for our interests wherever we can, be it in the relationship with China or US, and draw your red lines very, very strongly and be clear about them.
And go into any relationship with your eyes wide open.
Absolutely.
And that's China, that's America, that's anyone else. Ultimately, know yourself, develop your strengths is an important part of that too. If you have your own strengths, then at bottom there'll be a limit to how much damage others can do, even if they